All right, here we are, back again with another episode of A Talk with Tylin. I believe this is episode 4. I'm trying to keep track of it. I know last week we did 3.5, which was the Sonic trailer reaction. That was about like 2 weeks ago. And now, flash forward 2 weeks now, next week, this week, the movie's coming out. So that's cool. But anyways, without further ado, let's just get into it real quick. Again, I can't do it without my. Okay, so for this week's episode, or just this moment in time, since I didn't really do an episode last week, for today's episode, we're gonna be talking about the Game Awards. The Game Awards just happened last Thursday, so we're gonna talk about who won, the new announcements, stuff like that. Also, some amazing news. I find it amazing. Sony is no longer making Spider-Man villain movies. So we're going to talk about that and why that excites me. And then also, a lot of people, well, speaking of Sonic 3 coming out this Friday, a lot of people are upset that it's a children's film. Why? But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the Game Awards. All right, so last Thursday, we got to see the 2024 Game Awards, and I guess to give my overall just thoughts on the show, it was pretty solid. I feel like we got to see a lot of new announcements, a lot of games that I wanted to win awards, won the awards, and on top of that, Elden Ring didn't win a single thing, so kudos to that. But I guess just to start it off here, I have it in my notes. Let's talk about some of the announcements. All right, so a list here. We got our first to look at a new Sonic game. It was only like a 15-second trailer, but it's a Sonic racing game. And I recall that the last one, Sonic Team Racing, didn't do well. So maybe this is like an homage to All Stars Racing, where we might see more than Sonic characters, maybe some Sega characters put in there. Just like All Stars Racing back then. We got our first look at Elden Ring 2, or basically an Elden Ring spin-off title co-op type of game. Turns out that it's going to have a lot of battle royale elements to it. I don't really know how to feel about that one. I guess I'll wait to see what people say about it before I even attempt to pick it up, because I thought it was just going to be a co-op story mode game, similar to how Elden Ring was, because I believe Elden Ring had some co-op aspects to it. But this was I thought it was going to be a full MMO type of game, but turns out it's not. We also got our first look at a Helldivers 2 update. The Illuminate are finally in the game, and I'm recording this on Monday, the December 16th. The Illuminate are gone, so that they just came and went. So Helldivers was on my PlayStation for like the weekend, and then I deleted it as soon as that new race went away. So kudos to them. And also we got our first look at a Naughty Dog game, a new Naughty Dog franchise, new IP for Naughty Dog. It's a new Naughty Dog game. It looks alright. I mean, I guess I'll get into that later, but honestly, I'll give a rundown on the announcements. I gave my thoughts on some of them. I didn't think I mentioned The Witcher 4. I never played the Witcher series before, but I'm pretty sure somebody out there is highly excited for this. It's actually really cool to see that they're making a fourth Witcher game. But I guess let's get into, I want to talk about the Naughty Dog game later. So we're going to get into some of the awards. So I guess one that I was talking about in the last video, or the last episode, about Sparking Zero not win, or how Sparking Zero wouldn't win the best fighting game. It was true. The honor went to Tekken 8. Sparking Zero was never, and a lot of people are upset about this, but let me tell you that Sparking Zero was never going to win best fighting game, just because of the fact of how it had a rough launch. Like, I believe Sparking Zero, actually I don't believe, I know Sparking Zero just got an update that completely changed the game. They fixed the select screen, which, as you guys know, I had a major problem with that. They condensed it and actually made it like the older games where it was separated by arcs. And they fixed a lot of problems that people had when it came to online. A lot of the spamming, a lot after image spam, key blast spam, insta sparks are now 4 skill points, which they should have been to begin with. What I'm trying to say here is that the update makes the game look like the initial launch was unfinished, if that makes sense. I felt like I bought an unfinished game compared to what it is now. It was never going to win. Tekken 8 had a successful launch, for as far as I know, and I heard nothing bad about it. Also, like it or not, Tekken is the bigger fighting game. Dragon Ball might be the bigger IP, but there's a lot of Dragon Ball fans that don't play video games. Tekken is strictly video games. There's tournaments for Tekken. There's a lot of tournaments. I guess that's where I was going with that. Tekken has whole tournaments dedicated to it. They're featured in Evo. Like, Tekken as a game is known worldwide. What was another thing? Elden Ring. Elden Ring. Now it just makes Jeff Keighley look a bit incompetent for adding this DLC to be nominated, or giving it the opportunity to be nominated, and it didn't go home with a single thing. That just makes, like, what was the point? You missed out on having games like Stellar Blade or Silent Hill 2 or Warhammer being included in those sections, like best narrative, best game direction. No, you put a DLC in there and then it didn't win anything. And then to put more salt on the wound, the Muppets, the two old Muppets, they made fun of him for doing that. They were like, "Oh, what's next? A pre-order bonus as a game of the year?" Like, it was just a really dumb decision, and I don't think he should do it again. Because not only did it not win Game of the Year, again, it didn't win anything. The Game of the Year went to Astrobot, which is, a lot of people are upset that Wukong didn't win. Either or, for me, I voted for Wukong because I like it, but I believe Wukong actually had a lot of controversy for its launch. Like, I looked this up, or I just heard from a lot of different people that the developers didn't want you playing Wukong or streaming Wukong if you were going to talk bad about the game. They didn't want criticism for their game. On top of that, this one I heard, but apparently they didn't want women playing their game either. So no female streamers were allowed to play Wukong. Having that sort of controversy back up behind your game, if that makes sense, having that back your game already calls for, like, a lot of how am I trying to say this? A lot of crazy shit, essentially. It's you kind of tainted your game. And then on top of that, last night before recording this, I'll put it right here, but apparently the CEO for Wukong is salty that he didn't win Game of the Year. And basically, to sum it up, he's basically saying, like, why did I come? What were these other games? What did these other games have that I didn't? And that, my thoughts on that, like, why are you being a sore loser? And let me just read it word for word real quick. Let me just see if I can find it. All right, here it is. So I'm going to keep it up. But Game Science CEO criticizes the Game Awards and says he wrote a Game of the Year acceptance speech for Black Myth Wukong 2 years ago. First off, why are you doing that? That just shows you need to humble yourself, because your game, Wukong's amazing, don't get me wrong, but does it hold a pedestal to, like, Final Fantasy VII, one of the biggest gaming IPs out there, or Astrobot, that a game that everybody loved? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that Astrobot's better than Wukong. I haven't played Astrobot, but I have played Wukong, so I can't really speak on that. But just to say, like, oh yeah, I'm obviously gonna win, these other games have nothing to me, or nothing to me. It's just, that makes you so unlikable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like this guy. But anyways, let's continue. The games nominated for Game of the Year were all excellent, but I really didn't understand the criteria for this year's Game of the Year. Felt like I came here for nothing. Ultimately, we took home Best Action Game and Player's Voice, especially winning Player's Voice was gratifying. This whole thing right here where he's talking about the games nominated for this year were all excellent, but I didn't really understand the criteria for this Game of the Year, and it felt like he came there for nothing. That just screams sore loser. Honestly, don't taint the artistry of your game, because Wukong is beautiful. I love I love the artistry of it. I didn't want to repeat the same word, but don't let your bitterness taint the game, because when people want to look up, oh, what else does this guy do? They're going to see this. They're going to see the fact that or I want to say it's a fact, but they're going to see the rumors, I'll say rumors, or just story about how you didn't want people criticizing your game, or how you didn't want women playing your game. Like, no, that's you're coming off as a real I'm sorry for saying that. Oh, you're basically saying that when you say I didn't understand the criteria for this year's game of the year, you're basically saying that those other games didn't need to be there. That's what I gained from it. Saying that, like, oh, I didn't understand, like, what makes a game of the year is essentially what you're saying. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, again, is a remake to one of the biggest video games out there. Elden Ring, I'll give it to you. Elden Ring didn't need to be there. But what was another game? I totally forgot the game of the year. I totally forgot him. I'm not going to lie. Metaphor, I believe. Metaphor, I heard that was really good. Again, Astrobot 1, I guess it was a very lovable game. I haven't played it. I haven't seen anything about it. But just to say what you said here makes you come off as a very, very cocky and unlikable person. And if people see this and take it the wrong way, you can just kiss your Wukong sequel. Well, people love Wukong, but you can just kiss half of this stuff goodbye. You know what I'm saying? No one's really gonna want to support you if you're an asshole. That's what's coming off here. And the fact that you said you wrote a Game of the Year acceptance speech 2 years before your game even came out, it's just, what are we doing? You know, you're reminding me of like Lex Luthor, or just like this cocky CEO that thinks he's perfect. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you real sore loser. Way to taint the run of Wukong, or just the outer run. Again, people love the game, but outside of that, like, way to up. Anyways, let's talk about this new Naughty Dog game, because I think this is going to stem from the problems that I have with the trailers throughout this award show. I don't like how trailers somewhat throw you into a game and then expect you to already know what's going on. And then on top of that, some of the trailers are like extremely long. Like this new Naughty Dog game, nobody knows nothing about it besides if you do your own research, but I didn't really like how it threw me into a world and I had no idea what was happening. They're already speaking within the context. They're not really like trying to grasp you into this new world. On top of that, there was a lot of product placement. Am I being advertised to? I feel like there was more emphasis on the products rather than the actual story. And then on top of that, no gameplay, but I guess this is a new IP. I believe they've been working on it for like the past 2 years. Don't quote me on that. But no gameplay. I mean, what I'm trying to say, there was nothing about this new game that piqued my interest besides the fact that it's from Naughty Dog. And Naughty Dog obviously knew this because they listed every single game that they worked on within this, just so you know that this game shouldn't be slept on, essentially. But I mean, I like the face model they got for it. I forgot her name, but she's going to play Jade in the new Mortal Kombat movie coming out, I believe, next year. They got her as a face model, and I believe she's the voice of this new character as well. But this game failed to interest me. I'm not going to lie. This was their big jaw-dropping world premiere. I don't know. It just failed. I feel like The Witcher 4 would have been a big jaw-dropping final world premiere. This, I don't know. Maybe I have to see more, but as for hype, I like the aesthetic of it. I like how it's like 80s space type of thing. It reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy, but every single thing in space has to reminisce or be remnant of Guardians of the Galaxy now. But it just failed to interest me. I can't really find myself being excited for this. And again, going back to just the trailers that were announced during this, or the trailers that we saw, they were either too long or they each had the exact same premise. You had a lot of medieval based games. You had these hyper futuristic shooters, or these like mech flying in mech suit games. There's one game, oh my god, it was like Gundam. Oh my god, I don't know what was going on that screen, but that it almost gave me a seizure. It didn't really pique my interest at all. But I don't know, a lot of games, I guess there's not really a such thing as an original concept when it comes to gaming anymore. They're either going to be apocalyptic, they're either going to be futuristic, either going to be medieval, or they're just going to be an IP. That's literally it. Or no, on top of that, you're going to have these anime, I call them, I don't know the exact definition, but you're going to have these anime baiting games where it's basically, I don't know the developers either. Maybe they're from a Japanese studio, but most of these games that I saw looked exactly like Genshin Impact. And they weren't Genshin Impact. It was just this glorified steampunk, slightly futuristic, medieval type of game with a very, very bright, hurt your eyes anime style. And again, maybe there was somebody out there that was really excited, but for me, the game just looked like it kind of looked like I've already seen it before, and I have seen it before. You know, most of those games are basically just Genshin Impact. That's what I gained from it. And also another thing, just like I was saying about the Naughty Dog game, they failed to really give us anything to like care about, you know? Like with this Sonic racing game, I swear to you, it was only 15 seconds. You saw Shadow get into a car, drive off, boom, title screen. That was it. That was literally it. What am I supposed to gain from that? I'm supposed to be excited that it's a Sonic racing game? The last one sucked. I don't know. But some games, I guess, I think one was from the developers of Shadow of the Colossus. That was dope. I guess just from the developers that made that game, you already know. But I believe it didn't have a title. It said like Project so and so. Most of these games were just like Project blank. Like you have all this time to make a trailer for the game and send it to Jeff Keighley to be shown, but you couldn't give it a title. I guess I don't know, but I think another game just hit me. I forgot what it's called, but there's a sequel to it. It's like a let me look it up real quick. Okami is getting a sequel. I've never played this before, but I remember he was in what is it, Marvel vs. Capcom? I believe he was. Yeah, he's getting a sequel. That was really cool. I think that's what made this Game Awards so different from last year and the years before. We actually got good announcements. Nothing was disappointing. I mean, my wish list, I wanted to see like Kingdom Hearts 4, that new Transformers game that we never got anything else about. I think it got canceled, and on top of that, I wanted to see this is never going to happen, but I wanted to see an announcement for Battlefront 3, but we're not getting that. That game is dead. That game is dead and gone. But I guess to wrap it all up here for the Game Awards, I give it like a solid 8.5 out of 10. It was really good. Really good. The musical performances, you got something from Arcane, and you had like this really, really long Snoop Dogg performance, I guess. I mean, I like Snoop Dogg, but I don't know. That didn't excite me either. But again, 8.5 out of 10. We got a lot of really good games. A lot of these announcements kind of flopped a low key, like the Elden Ring one kind of, or for me, my excitement for the Elden Ring co-op kind of dwindled when I figured out it's not really what I thought it was. And then the Helldivers 2 update, which again only lasted for a weekend. They spent all the budget on one planet, it seems like. Because I don't want to get into it right now, but if you know, you know, like a weekend of this new whatever. Anyways, Game Awards, solid show. Can't wait for next year. All right. So I was just talking about some good news before in the intro about how Sony is no longer making these terrible Spider-Man villain films. what changed? What hit them? Did they realize Craven wasn't going to do as well as they thought it would? Because you can't really have a Spider-Man villain without Spider-Man. I mean, it's in the name. Or was it Madam Web, the solo superhero film based on a character who has no comic book, based on a plot device? What was it? What was it? The only villain, quote unquote villain, that works for, they can have their own solo movies and they're decent, is Venom. That's literally it. Venom is the only one that can work because he's kind of an anti-hero now, and he has his own lore with Noel and the symbiotes and the planet that they're from, and he has his own arsenal of villains, or lineup of villains. Everyone else needs Spider-Man in order to succeed. And one thing, I guess Sony wanted to make their own little Marvel cinematic big team up type of universe. Do they forget that they own Spider-Man? Did they just forget? Because if you wanted to do that, you could have just used the different Spider-Men within the Spider-Verse. Did they forget that they made a whole movie based on that? 2, actually. They made 2 movies based on the Spider-Verse with all these different Spider-Men. We could have had a movie similar to these Sony or these Spider-Man villain movies about different Spider-Man. We could have a Spider-Punk movie, a Noir movie, a Gwen Stacy movie, a Spider-Man India movie, a 2099 movie. And then you bring them all together and you make your own little Avengers big team up. It probably would have not have been good because just how they kind of make these movies, but at least it makes sense. At least it makes sense because I'm going to do a Craven review later on, but words can't describe how utterly dumb this decision was. Like Morbius. I have never seen a time, besides the old TV shows and the fact that I don't really read comics like that, I've never seen a time where Spider-Man and Morbius, or Mobius, it's Morbius, Spider-Man and Morbius have interacted. Like, the most D-list Spider-Man villain you gave a movie. You were about to give El Muerto a movie, the lucha wrestler played by Bad Bunny, until that got canceled, thank God. My gosh, like, you guys just... do you guys just love losing money? Was it just like a Hail Mary? You guys just launched it across the field and saw it and hoped and prayed your receiver caught it, but most of the time he dropped it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this could be like 1st and 10, and you guys just Hail Mary the ball, and then you pray that your receiver catches it, and you do it 4 times. You did it with Venom. Venom, you got a couple yards, okay. Madam Web missed it. Craven, it got intercepted. I'm sorry. Pick 6 all the way back to the touchdown. Yeah, no. Morbius also got a pick 6 because that movie sucked too. I hope that football. I have a football shirt on. It's Monday Night Football tonight. The Falcons play, but I hope that football analogy made sense to some of you guys. But again, I back to Spider-Man interacting with Morbius. I've seen Morbius interact with Blade more than I've seen him interact with Spider-Man. But all these villains that you made a movie about, besides Venom, Morbius and Craven are super, super one-dimensional. Like, they only exist because Spider-Man's there. They only work better when Spider-Man's there. Look at Craven from Spider-Man 2. Literally the best thing about that whole entire game. And he was only that good because he was hunting Spider-Man. He was hunting the symbiote that was on Spider-Man. On top of that, if you had a Craven game with that Craven without Spider-Man, nobody's playing that. That game's gonna suck because people don't care about Craven enough to be like, oh, I want to see a full Craven spinoff about him. No, nobody wants to see that. Madam Web, I don't want to talk about Madam Web, but thank God that these movies are done. And like, again, did these guys just forget that they own Spider-Man? Because when I say these villains only work with Spider-Man, did they not realize that they could have put him in these movies? Craven, Spider-Man could have been in that movie. Morbius, Spider-Man could have been in that movie. Venom still worked can work by himself, I'm not gonna lie. But again, Spider-Man could have been in that movie. And they're like, oh, we don't want to make it convoluted with bringing Tom Holland into the Sonyverse. You have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I believe Andrew Garfield wants the Amazing Spider-Man 3. He would not mind coming back to play Spider-Man. I'm not sure about Tobey. I think Tobey's like borderline retired. But he wouldn't. I believe Andrew would not mind. And the fact that you guys don't see that, you don't see the money that could be made if you announced an Amazing Spider-Man 3. I don't know. I don't get it. And another thing is like, you don't want to make it convoluted having two different Spider-Men, but DC is about to do that. DC is about to have the Matt Reeves Batman and James Gunn's Batman. It's not colliding with each other, because if you have a brain, you can tell that this one is not this one. You know what I'm saying? But good riddance to the Sony universe. Thank God. Just give Spider-Man to Disney and Marvel and let them cook. Spider-Man 4, they were trying to do like a big Noel thing from what I've heard with Spider-Man 4, or the Sinister Six was supposed to take on Noel or something. The Sinister Six aren't good guys. Just remember that they aren't good people. They're bad guys. Kraven, throughout the movie, I'll give a brief little synopsis of it before I go in depth with my review, but he's a good guy within that film. He's a good guy that hunts bad guys. That's stupid. That's dumb. That's really dumb. But I'll get into it later. Good riddance to the Sonyverse. You will not be missed. This video is brought to you by Hellscape Trigger, written by yours truly. I recently published it on the Amazon, so if you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below. Alright. Sonic 3 comes out this Friday, December 20th. And from what I've seen, this movie looks great. It's gonna. I know a lot of people have seen it early. I don't want to watch any of that right now. I just want to go look at it for myself. I don't really want to see like, oh, before you watch and stuff like that. Oh, is this movie good? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see any reviews because I want to, go in without any bias. But again, this movie looks really, really good. But a lot of people, or some, I wouldn't say a lot, some people are upset at the fact that this is a children's film. I've seen a lot of discourse on Twitter where they're upset that Sonic acts like a child instead of mature, but unless you've seen the movie, you can't really judge how he's acting based on a joke that he makes where he's like, Konichi what? Or he's like, someone called Google Maps. Those are just jokes to get you get your butt into the seat. You don't like, and then on top of that, in the same trailers, there's scenes where he's extremely serious, where the planet looks like it's been destroyed and he's fighting Shadow. There's not a smile on his face. He's pissed off. Whatever's happening, he's pissed off. There's a point where he's talking to Tails and he's like, what other choice do I have? He's pissed off. He's like, I don't understand this discourse of how Sonic acts like a child. It's Sonic. Sonic has always been quippy. He's always been a jokester. There's been points where he's been serious, and it happens within this film. And another thing a lot of people are upset about, so the new song for the soundtrack, I think it's called Running or Run It. It's by Jelly Roll. The song sucks. I'm not going to lie. I don't like that song. If you guys like it, by all means, listen to it. But me, personally, that song sucks. I feel like the one from the first film is all right. The second one, though I don't listen to it anymore, it's a pretty solid song with Kid Cudi. This third one kind of sucks. I don't know why we made that. It sounds like something that would play for like a Royal Caribbean cruise commercial. It sounds so uninspired and so generated and corporate, and there's no love put behind it, is what I'm trying to say. But there's a scene within that music video. Music video is solid. I like the old like Polygon-esque animation that they added, but there's a scene within that where I guess Eggman and his dad Gerald are like dancing, and a lot of people are upset. I remember I saw one. I probably wouldn't be able to pull it up because I don't remember who made it, but there was one like tweet where they were like, "Oh, this is the same movie where a little girl gets gunned down. Why is it so childish?" It's a children's film, and I guess that kind of sparked the discourse where people are like, this film should not be for kids. It should be for us Sonic fans. No. No, 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 no. They would never... The movie would go concrete if it was just for us Sonic fans, where it was a mature Sonic story. Sonic, like it or not, Sonic is a children's IP. It'll forever be a children's IP. The people who create these Sonic games, they're going to pay homages to the old fans that still like this stuff. But when it comes to their money, they got to make that money back. They're going to be marketing towards children. Lots and lots of children. What am I trying to say here? Like, and a lot of people are saying like, this is the same film. Like I said before, this is the same film where Maria, spoilers, I mean, if you haven't played the games, sorry, but where Maria gets gunned down in front of Shadow, and that kind of leads Shadow's, that kind of puts Shadow on the path that he's on now. Are people not clear about how, like, some children's films are able to tackle the concept of death? Or, like, just because there is a death in this film, or potential death, because we don't even know that she's gonna get gunned down or not. Nobody's seen the film besides the people that have seen the film before it comes out. I don't know, but we're not even sure that might happen. You know, they might actually water that down just because it is a children's film. But even if they don't, that doesn't mean that this film should be rated PG-13. The film's rated PG. The film is like, this is chill, this is G, this is PG. This is how I see it. It's barely there. It's like, oh, it might be a bit too intense. So in that case, Maria might get gunned down. But it might be a bit too intense for, like, I don't know, 5 to 8-year-olds. If you're 10 years old, you're probably not going to be scared of the film. You know what I'm saying? But I'm well aware that this is a children's film. I don't care. I'm still going to be there day one, butt in the seat with my little brother. I just don't see the discourse of how Sonic needs to be more mature. Like, look at Sonic. Look at this. Look at little Sonic. Look at many old school Sonic. Look at that little belly. Look at that face. Look at that stupid face. You're telling me that that's going to be for adults? Maybe for, like, nostalgia. But this little man is going to be marketed towards children, whether you like it or not. I don't really understand why we're upset that Sonic is now a children's IP. It's always been a children's IP. Sonic Adventure 2 is rated E for everyone. There's a Sonic Tennis game. What about Sonic Tennis screams adult? What about that screams M rating? Sonic Racing, Sonic Tennis, Sonic Racing, Sonic Frontiers, an open world Sonic game where you just run around. The only game that was rated T was Shadow the Hedgehog. That's where they tried to make Sonic be marketed towards adults, but you saw what happened there. No adult is going to play as this 4 or 5 foot furball with a gun. that looks edgy. It comes off as cringy, you know. I guess in retrospective, a lot of people really do appreciate that game. I love Shadow the Hedgehog, but I'm not afraid to admit that game sucks. That game blows. I'm not gonna say it's the best thing ever. That game sucks. And again, we saw what happened when you tried to market it Sonic for adults. It blew up in their face. So now they know that, oh, this little adorable looking guy and this guy that looks a bit older but is still a bit cartoonish, or super cartoonish, not a bit. He's extremely cartoonish. We're going to market that towards children now. This movie, imagine Sonic the Hedgehog 3 having an R rating. Or it's not R, it's not PG. I guess PG-13. It is PG-13. Imagine it. I mean, it could have a PG-13 rating, but do you really want to hear Shadow drop an F-bomb? Or hear Sonic go say, what the hell? Just read the room. Read the room, guys. Read the room. Alright, so while in the midst of recording this, James Gunn actually released his, the first poster, or I guess the first official, I don't know what it is, but he released a poster for the new Superman movie coming out next year. And then he also announced that the trailer is coming out Thursday. So I've got the poster pulled up here. Let's just look at it, man. Like, this is... A lot of people are really, really trashing this film. I guess because it's not Henry Cavill. But, like, I have hope for this, man. This looks really, really good. He's a bit... I mean, he looks a little bit small to be Superman. But, hey, man, yeah, CGI it up or something like that. That's just personal preference. I like Superman to be, like hefty, you know? But, again, I mean... I'm genuinely not even gonna judge this until I see it. Like, even trailer wise, I might react to the trailer, but I'm not gonna judge it negatively until I see it. Like, I really like the costume. I love this color grading that they have and how his cape is like mixed into the background and how it just looks like hope. And I like the tagline. It says "Look up," because, like, isn't that like his whole thing? Like, look up. Oh, it's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Superman. That's so cool. That's so cool. And the fact that they're bringing crypto into this movie, I'm definitely going to react to this. It'll be like a episode 4.5. I'll definitely react to it. This already looks amazing. I'm sorry. This looks so good. This looks so good. All right. And that was episode 4 of A Talk with Tylin. That was it. I mean, I was trying to think of something to say for the outro, but that's mostly all that's all I had. We talked about the Game Awards, we talked about Sony, and we talked about the Sonic 3 discourse about how it's a children's film, which is still pretty stupid to me. But anyways, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys think about the Sonic 3 discourse. Let me know what you guys thought about the Game Awards. Did what you want to win? Or, you know, like, what happened? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think about the Sonyverse being dead as well. I'm happy. Are you guys happy? But again, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. Be on the lookout for my Craven the Hunter review. It'll probably be out, I want to say Wednesday. Sometime this week it'll be out. But on top of that, I'll see you guys in the next video.